A few years ago, top models took part in a campaign against the use of real fur. And it was a success because a lot of high street chains in the UK stopped stocking real fur, and they still don't stock it. But fur was worn on the catwalks this year. Dolce & Gabbana, Alexander McQueen and Prada all featured clothes that were trimmed with fur. And globally the sales of real fur are rising. The former Liberal Democrat MP Mark Oaton now is now chief executive of the International Fur Federation, so he speaks for the whole fur industry. Tell me then, Mark Oaton, who's buying fur?
It's a real mix. In recent years, the market in China, Japan and Korea has been very, very strong. You've got obviously an enormous economic change there, a lot of wealth. And so luxury goods, whether it's cars, watches or fur, have been very popular in Asia. You've got a strong market in Russia. But you're also seeing a change in the generation of people buying fur. Younger people are buying fur now, not necessarily the old traditional fur coats, but they're buying colourful items where there may be some fur as a trim, or handbags, which you're going to be talking about later on today.
Now, your federation is saying that the debate about fur has moved on. What do you mean by that? Moved from what to what?
I think the sales demonstrate and the catwalks demonstrate that fur is now mainstream fashion. It's very popular. So to the extent that back in the 80s and 90s there was a lot of shock, a lot of concern about fur and people were buying it less, now we see a different attitude, particularly a younger generation who want to make informed choices themselves, and they feel very comfortable buying fur. They see it as a fashion accessory, and the designers are also feeling very comfortable now using this natural material.
Why should they feel comfortable about it if they didn't feel comfortable about it before? What's changed is what I'm driving at.
I think what's changed is the design has changed. You look back at the traditional fur coat and what immediately comes to your mind is a very heavy, thick, long coat with maybe just one colour, a brown. Now you have new designs, you have lighter fur, you've got fur being used on handbags, on collars, you've got different colours coming in. And because of these new techniques of using fur, there's been a revolution really in how fur is seen by designers, and they're more comfortable using it.
Are the production methods, though, any more humane? Because that was what the argument was about. The idea it was unethical because the production methods were inhumane.
The production has changed enormously. There are now so many rules and regulations which are very, very welcome to make sure that whether it's fur which is trapped in the wild or whether it's farmed is highly regulated. And I really welcome that. I want to do more. We're constantly pushing to see if we can improve those standards. But of course, there will always be some people, however strong and high quality the welfare is, who are just fundamentally opposed to the use of fur. And I respect that. There's nothing I can do to change their minds. All I can do is make sure that I strive for really high quality welfare, and that's what we're doing.
Do you think we're ready for fur again in the UK then? Because last October the fashion director Harvey Nichols, Paula Reed, she resigned because of an online campaign in which she was criticised for overturning the store's decade-long ban on fur.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I work throughout the world, and there's no doubt that in the UK this has been one of the harder markets which has had in the past strong campaigns running against fur. That said, we now saw at the most recent London fashion event, I think 70% of the catwalk shows had fur in it, and you've got big stores like Harrods and others who are working with fur. What you have, I think, also are a lot of foreign tourists who come to London. They see it as a home of fashion, and they're now wanting to buy fur in a lot of the shops throughout London. So it is coming back, but yes, this is one of the markets where it is more sensitive because of the very strong campaigns that the anti-fur movement have run.
You describe the market as being modernised in the sense it isn't these big coats but just little bits of fur on stuff. Your critics say that you are sneaking fur back onto the market without upsetting people because they don't realise what they're buying.
Don't think I would want to describe it as bits of fur on stuff. I mean, this is still a...
well,
still
handbags. What are handbags? Gloves?
Well, okay, well, you're talking about handbags later on, I think, as being a lovely accessory. Look, what's happened is that designers and fashion has changed. It always changes. It moves on. And so you have gilets, you have handbags, you have collars, trim on sleeves, you have fur working with wool and other fabrics.
I see all that. In my mind's eye, I see it all. But what I'm asking you is it a way of sneaking it back onto the market to really unsuspecting young public who didn't hear the arguments last time around.
If I was really that clever that I could persuade all those designers to sneak fur back in, that's just not how it works. Okay, I've switched from politics to fashion. It's an extraordinary change, but you realise in this world that designers are fiercely independent. Fashion is something that's incredibly hard to control. No, this has come from designers, this has come from fashion, and it has been led in that sense rather than some sneaky campaign by me or my organisation to bring fur back.
Mark Oaton, thank you for coming on.